Hello, and welcome to the video explanation of the NNT. To talk about the NNT, let's consider heart attacks. Say we live in a world where if you get no treatment for your heart attack, your risk of dying is 75%. But luckily in this world, we've discovered a new drug called Lifesaver. If you take Lifesaver while you're having a heart attack, your risk of dying is only 25%. That's a pretty good improvement, right? Now let's look at these bottom numbers a little closer. The bottom shaded area represents people that would have died even if they got this great treatment called Lifesaver. In fact, if you look at the bar graph, these are the people who got Lifesaver and still died. And let's look at the top number. This top group is the group of people who survived even if they didn't get Lifesaver. They were going to survive no matter what. Now, why is this? We don't necessarily know. Maybe they had a different type of heart attack, or their heart attack was less severe, or they were just going to do better. But it's this middle 50% that Lifesaver had an impact on. If you look at the left side, those are people who didn't get treatment and died. But if you look at the right side, those are people who got treatment and didn't die. So 50% of the people were saved by getting Lifesaver. So if we talk about that in terms of the NNT, Lifesaver helped every other person, or 50%, so in order to save one person, we have to treat two. So the NNT, or the number needed to treat, is 2. Now let's look at a little more realistic example. Again, no treatment and a new drug called Less Attack. But this time the number's a little more realistic about how many people actually die from a heart attack. 10%. So if you have a heart attack and you get no treatment at all, let's say your risk of dying is 10%. Already, it's less than no treatment in the other group. Now let's look at Less Attack. If you get Less Attack, your risk of dying was 8%. That's still certainly better. Again, let's look at the bottom shaded area. These are people who, no matter what, they died even if they got this new treatment called Less Attack. And let's look at the top area. These are people who would have survived even if they didn't get Less Attack as well. Notice the scale of the graph. Only the top 12% are being shown, but since 10% died, that means 90% of people survived even without any treatment. We'll get back to this in a minute. And again, if we look at the blue area, that's 2% who were saved by giving Less Attack. Now, let's consider this number a little bit closer. If you say that 8 out of 10 people is 80%, we can see these differences relative to each other. And let's look at that difference again. So often you'll hear a drug company or an advertiser say, some drug lowered the risk of death by 20%. And while that's technically true, 80% out of 100%, the difference is 20%, let's look at the real numbers a little closer, and you'll understand the NNT better. Again, now look at our graph again. It's scaled to 100%, so now we can see all the people in the study. So again, 10% and 8%, no treatment and Less Attack. The bottom number, again, the people who died even if they got Less Attack. And now look at this top number. All of these people, 90%, survived even without any treatment at all. And again, the blue little shaded area, this time, is the number of people, 2%, who are saved by Less Attack. So now let's consider the NNT again to get an actual estimate of what Less Attack did. So Less Attack saved 2% of people, so that's a 2% difference. So 100% divided by 2 is 50, the NNT. So Less Attack, you have to treat 50 people, versus the first drug, Lifesaver, you only had to treat 2. And that's the essence of the NNT.